So let's do sales tracking and forecasting. So this is basically how to use the CRM. I'm going to start at the very beginning, entering a lead, and take you through adding information to that lead, converting it, tracking a potential, running a report, etc. It's basically a demo of the product. So if you're new, this is very, very informational. We're going to talk about two types of businesses, which we know about, to consumer, business to business. And then before we can get into the sales pipeline tracking and the forecasting, we have to learn how to manage our leads, and then we'll dive into the pipeline and forecasting. All right, so B2C, business to consumer, B2B, business to business, this is Sales 101, right? So when I think of B2C, I think of like Amazon.com or my new favorite app, Uber, right? So you make your purchase on an impulse. It's emotionally driven. I'll jump on Amazon.com, look at daily deals, and I just buy stuff, right? I've got one-click ordering set up. There's really not much in terms of someone having to sell it to me, or even if I go to Best Buy or some store like that, there's some interaction, but it's very minimal. Right? You're really focused on the product, and if you want to buy it, you buy it. No one's really having to work too hard to convince you otherwise, right? So very short sales cycle. It could be a whole 2 minutes of thinking of that's what you want or not, and you add it to your cart and buy it. The CRM really comes into play if you're business to business. All right, so we're not going to leave the business to consumer customers out to dry. There is a way to remove the accounts module, and then you can not make company name mandatory and then remove that too. So all you're left with is leads and contacts. So it will work for both systems, right? The reason you use the CRM though is because your sales has a process. It takes multiple steps to close. In order to get from step to step to step, you have to build a relationship with your client. You're not focusing on your product, but the entire solution, the benefits it provides, the requirements it meets, what it can do from day one to next year. You're thinking about the long-term effect. It's a niche market. The way I'm going to use myself as an example, Zoho CRM, I'm the sales manager. It doesn't apply to every single person to have a CRM unless you have a business or you're a sales manager, you're involved in that aspect. So it is a smaller market, and it takes a lot of steps to get there, right? So let's use Zoho CRM as an example. Software, someone signs up for the trial, then might watch a webinar, then they'll watch a demo, then we'll follow up, then we'll do a requirements call, then they might buy the licenses, maybe roll out the licenses in phases, maybe a partner will be involved. So it's a lot of steps in order to close a deal. So as a sales manager, I don't want to just click on a potential or an opportunity and see if it's open or closed. I want to see where we are in the process, so that helps me to report and forecast. All right, so sales in general though, B2B, B2C, this is what's in common, right? There's a qualifying phase, discovering phase of needs, sometimes long, sometimes short. If a salesperson is involved, there's some sort of pitch. If it's a website, the website is pitching you the benefits. It has reviews, things like that, where it's getting you to be involved in your purchase-making process and telling you this is the right fit for you, and then you close, right? So we know those steps. So we break this down from the prospecting side all the way to closing the deal. It doesn't end, right? The follow-up tells you that once your relationship is set, you have account management after. You have to service your accounts. You can add customer service, customer support to the sales process once it's done. So the CRM is an ongoing cycle, and then the customer might come back for repeat business. So it's an existing account, existing business. So this constantly cranks around and around and around, right? So in the CRM, you don't have to start at the lead section. I know it seems like you have to create a lead and then convert it, etc. You don't have to start there. Not everyone has a section for leads. So remember, it's not set in stone. You can create a lead, you can create a contact, you can create an account, you can create a potential. It's your choice of where you want to start. If you are converting from lead to contact, you cannot go backwards. So if you want to start at the contact section, then immediately you can have your account and then track your potential. And then use different contact statuses and then different potential stages. You can take it a step further and then use lead statuses and then convert the lead, have contact statuses, and then have potential stages. It depends how much information you want about your sales cycle and how many steps there are required. If you just start out, you want to keep it as simple as possible. Maybe only use the default stages or just change it to open and closed. As you grow, you want more detailed information. Usually about a year of sales is going to give you enough information for you to forecast what the goals are for next year. All right, so you can start either place. So before we can close a deal, we need a lead. Right? What is a lead? Samir defined this earlier. A lead is someone who might be interested in doing business with you. Right? Think of your website or your business as a store. They just walk in. They haven't even looked at any of the shelves. They haven't looked at any products. They haven't talked to anyone yet. So there's a process involved. So a lead is someone who might want to pursue an opportunity with your company. You might close a deal. It's a prospect. They need to be qualified, right? These are all the CRM terms, right? We have generation and nurturing and qualification and conversion. I'm not going to sit here and define all of them because there's a better way to look at this, right? So first question you ask yourself, what does it take to build your business? How do you get people to your business? That is lead generation. So how are people getting to your website? How are people coming to your store? How are people hearing about your company and what they do? How did you hear of Zoho? Did you hear it from a friend? Did you randomly do a Google search one day on CRM and it popped up on the front page? So that's lead generation. How do people learn more about my business? We talked about these webinars, right? So that's nurturing. It's basically ongoing education for your lead. So that's where you give them more information. Webinars, demos, ebooks, infographics, product brochures, those are all considered part of the lead nurturing process. Now you give all this stuff to this person. Is this the right person to follow up with? How do you know? Well, you have to ask the right questions. So that is lead qualification. And then once you ask them the questions and you get the answers you're looking for, is there an opportunity to close a deal and make some money? That is when you convert your lead. All right, so let's go further into these 4 steps. Generation. So you can do social media. That's really big these days. You can have a blog on your website, have content constantly updated. You can throw events like Zoholics. You can attend trade shows. You can do webinars. You can provide lots of digital material. You can do email marketing, which is the cheapest form of lead generation possible in terms of how many leads you can reach and how much you actually have to pay. And then you can even do cold calls, you can purchase lists, and you can do direct mailers. For us, if you found us on Google, we're using Google AdWords and SEO. That's a little bit more expensive, but it's where you need to build to eventually, so when people search for your type of product, you pop up on the search results. So lead nurturing is giving people more information. So this is what we have for free on our website. We're sending you emails when you sign up for a trial. Then it's got links to the webinars. We have a blog. We have decision guides. If you're comparing us to another CRM, we can send those to you. We have infographics. Is this CRM a right match for me? Is Sales IQ a right match? Is Zoho Campaign? So we have different graphics. It's an easier way for someone to get information. These days, people are getting more information before they call sales, right? It used to be maybe you know 20%, and then you call the sales team. It's up to 60 to 70% on enterprise sales. They've researched the heck out of your company. They know who your CEO is. They know a full background. They know everything, right? So when you provide information on your website, you're giving them a chance to actually nurture themselves. You don't have to do it, right? You just have to have this easy to access. So this is a screenshot of our user guide page. If you are in the CRM, you click on manuals in the top right under the help section, and you can see videos, webinars, blogs, ebooks, things like that. There's some great ebooks there. They're really short, simple to read, and they're free. There's one on reports, one on web forms. So definitely check those out. Videos, you may have seen me in a lot of these videos. So we have basics for CRM and importing leads and web forms and workflows again. So watch those videos. Those are absolutely free. Webinars twice a week for CRM. There's webinars for almost every product now in the CRM, in Zoho. And then you can also participate in blogs and forums. Blogs is a really good way to keep up with our company. We write a blog for pretty much every enhancement and update. So that's a really good way to keep up with what we're doing as well. All right, so now your lead's been nurtured. You have to qualify. I can't tell you what questions you need to ask, but this is basically what you need, right? You need a way to contact them. Name, address, phone, email. In software, the address isn't really important because I don't need to send you anything, right? But I need your email address to know where you're going to sign up. And I want to know your phone number so I can follow up. So figure out what's important. Categorize your leads. I already talked about the views. It's much easier to have different types of leads and categorize them rather than just having all open leads. I recommend hot, warm, and cold as a type of way to categorize your leads. What are the ways someone is a hot lead? What are the ways someone is a cold lead? Figure that out and train your team to know how to update those statuses, and you can go a step further and have them auto-update through workflows. Gather their needs. Depends on your business, but ask them the right questions. As a sales manager, it's always good when someone's new to the team to give them these questions. I don't believe in scripts. I think scripts, they call one person on the team, one or the other. It sounds like they're reading off of it. So I'm not a big believer in sales scripts, but I am a believer in outline and make sure it's flowing the right way and controlling the call. So I let them ask whatever questions they want. I just say, make sure you know if they've used a CRM before or not. Figure out how you want to ask that, though, so that their own personality can shine on the call. Figuring out the purchase time frame, that may or may not be important for your business. See if it is. You can add fields for it. Add fields for budget. Ask about the budget. Don't be afraid to ask someone for their budget if you earn the right to. How do you earn the right? You build rapport. You make them your friend, and then you can ask these more insightful questions. And then sometimes it's good to know about past purchase history. So the reason I was saying all this is because lead qualification can be done inside the CRM. You generate leads, you can import them in, you can add them manually, you can use a web form, and you can use API calls. But once they're in there, they're assigned to the team, and this is where you're adding all this information. So your team has to use the CRM, otherwise, again, it doesn't really provide you with any benefit. So best practice for notes, I add a note every single time I talk to someone or email someone. It doesn't matter, I add a note for it, all right? The notes have an owner, so it tells you who made the note. It also has a date and time. So you can run a report on notes added every single day by so-and-so. Emails. Email integration is possible. I'm going to go over that on day 3. But of course you want to send an email after you talk to someone. Send a nice contextual email that refers to them by their name and exactly what you talked about, rather than just a random template, right? Then if those emails are integrated in the CRM, it's all on one page for you. You don't have to open up another application to see the emails. Attachments. So if you look back here, I've got like Grace's menu. So let's say the customer's name is Grace. I'm going back to my catering example. So I attach the possible menu that we've made for her as a document, or a spreadsheet, sorry. You can grab those from your desktop. You can grab them from Zoho Docs, Google Drive, etc. Then you have activities. And I'll define those in a bit. But we have tasks, events, and calls. 3 separate things: a to-do list, meetings with a start and end time, and a call, right? So you can schedule calls, you can track completed calls, you can track presently ongoing calls as well. So add it all into the CRM. You have to train your team to actually use the tool. I ripped everyone's pieces of paper on their desk. I do it like once a week because I don't want them using paper. Why would you write it down when you can enter it in the CRM? It doesn't make any sense. That's how you train them. You have to set boundaries. I gave them a whiteboard. That's the only thing they're allowed to use. Otherwise, they're not allowed to write anything down. Because I want it in here. So I don't have to ask on Friday, hey, what are your big deals? Because that's a waste of 5 minutes during a meeting when I can just run a report. And then I ask them specifically, what about this specific deal? So get them to practice that. And if you're using the CRM, make sure you practice that yourself and set a good example. It will really help in a year or 2 when you go back. Rather than fishing through notebooks and emails and things like that, it's just all there. So this is very important. Once the qualifying criteria is met, you have to hit the convert button. The reason we have this is so you can keep them separate. So you know people who are unqualified and people who are qualified. So they're your contacts. Your qualifying data it's up to you to decide that. I can't tell you what your qualifying data needs to be, but you need to decide at what point that you said, hey, there's a sales opportunity, go ahead and hit the convert button. So a lead becomes a contact, right? It doesn't become a potential, it doesn't become an account. It becomes the contact. It's a person. First name, last name, email address, phone number. That's exactly what a contact is. First name, last name, email, phone number, and any custom field. The account is created from the company name field. If you fill that in, and by default is mandatory, if you fill it in, then you get the account. The account attaches to the contact. And then I do personally think this is kind of a confusing word, but then you create the potential. And the potential is the sales opportunity. It's a thing. So you convert the lead to a contact, person to person. The company attaches to the contact if company name is present. And then you start tracking your sale, which is the potential itself. It's a potential source of revenue that you're going to track. All right, is everyone following along? All right. I'm going to go back and do this entire thing in the CRM. So we're going to keep continuing on the slides, and then we'll do the exact same presentation again, but within the CRM. So when you convert, it gives you the option to add a potential. So you ask yourself, how large is this deal? And you put that into the amount. It's a dollar value, but that's what it's asking. You don't need to know that right away. You can leave it blank. When are they going to purchase? That's what you put in the closing date. If you don't know, it's fine. You can change it later, but figure out how long you think it's going to take to close, and then how far along in their purchase, that's your stage. So everyone's homework is to figure out what stages they're going to use for their sales team, so that when you go to work and you run a report, you can say, oh, these deals are almost closed this month, and these deals are not, based solely on the stage that they're in. That's what you're looking for. That's how you build this pipeline. Right? So these are some of the default stages in the CRM. I'll give you what the definition of what they mean to us. Qualifying, making sure that this is the right product for them. Needs evaluation, you're going through asking them the right questions, requirements calls, things like that. Demos in terms of the way we use it. Value prop. The value proposition is how you're pitching your deal, pitching your product in terms of how it's beneficial to them against your competitors. What is the value? You're not focusing on the price, you're focusing on the benefits, and that's your value prop. And then there's other steps involved. On enterprise deals, a lot of times there's multiple decision makers involved. There's a way to have multiple contacts into one account and then assign those contacts different roles as well. So then you'll know who the main decision maker is, which is not necessarily the same person who is buying the product. Right? It happens to us all the time where the CEO is possibly actually buying the CRM, but the decision maker is the IT guy, right? Or the sales manager. So not necessarily always the same person. You have to find what I call the champion, figure out the person who is most interested in your product, use them to sell the person who is maybe actually purchasing. All right? So the decision maker and the person who is most interested in your product on that team are not necessarily always the same person. So tag them in your CRM so you know who to go after. And then there's proposal price quotes. We know what that is. You can send quotes in the CRM through the CRM itself. You can use third-party tools. You can use Zoho Invoice. Then you negotiate your price and you close the deal, right? So in an ideal world, this would not be a funnel. It would be a rectangle. But we know that's not true. There's always external factors. Price is one, competitors, economy, et cetera, et cetera. You want to make this as much of a square as possible so you have the highest conversion rate you can. Right? And as you build through the whole year, you can figure out what that conversion rate is and then give people a goal, right? But it takes time to build that data. It's hard to forecast it from day one. Once all that's done, basically we've done some of the homework for you. If you don't know how to build a report, these are all the reports that are already in the CRM for potentials. You can run it by type, by source. You can see your salesperson's performance. You can make your own funnel. The sales metrics reports in the middle here. Those are awesome. It tells you the duration of the sale. Either the full sales duration, which is from lead created time till potential close date, or you can do sales cycle duration, which is right under there. That is from potential created date to potential close date. So either you want the pipeline duration or you want the full duration from when the lead was created. You get both of those options, and of course you can customize from there. All right, so let's start back at the beginning and start with leads. Our buddy Tej is here. I've added him as a lead. This is what our lead page looks like, completely filled in. All right, so if I was going to call Tejas, let's say I was assigned this lead, I'm on the phone. The first thing I'm trying to do is gather information. So I'm trying to fill in the fields. And then when I'm done, I'm going to add a note. Right? There's some options on the notes. You can add a title if you wish. Otherwise, you can even add attachments to the note specifically. And my favorite, and we use this nonstop, is tagging people on the notes. So we have 14 people on the US sales team spread across these cubicles. If Haley has a question for Brandon, she has to walk 4 cubicles over on the other row and ask him and come back. Why would you waste your time doing that? Tag the note. They get an email with the question. So we do this all the time. There's some restrictions I've placed on them, so they'll tag me on the note so that I have to do whatever they tell me to do in order to bypass that restriction, because I'm just not giving them all the privileges. So that's how they communicate with me rather than coming to my desk every 5 minutes. We all, hate that anyway. So use the tagging system. It's the same thing in feeds, but I really like this on the notes. So that's actually a new feature. Once the note is saved, I'm going to go ahead and save it. Let me add another one. So here it tells me date and time. It will say now until a few minutes have passed, and it'll actually show the date and time. And then I can sort the notes. Whatever you prefer, you want to see the most recent or you want to see that first or last, right? Emails, but the idea here is you can go ahead and just send an email from the screen itself, right? So I've got my signature populated, and I can grab my template, right? So in this case, I can send a quick follow-up email. Thank you for speaking with you. Thank you for speaking with me about your catering needs, and it just confirms the address. So these fields are auto-filling. So as long as I've entered in the right information, I don't have to fill it in again. Saves me some time, and then the rep can add more information in here and send it. It's a quick way to send emails, and that goes from your Gmail account or your Yahoo account or your company account. It can be integrated. That's your email follow-up, your notes follow-up. What else? You can add attachments. You can grab them from your computer. Now, you can add as many files as you want. The limit is 20 megabytes. You can grab them from the Documents tab. The Documents tab is built into the CRM. You can add documents in here as a central location and share them to your users, or you can add them to multiple records. Why would you do this rather than adding it every single time separately? Well, sometimes you might be using the same document multiple times, so it's not taking up storage space if you upload it once, share it multiple times through different leads, different contacts, different accounts. You can upload anything you want, and again, unique feature about this company is we make a lot of these different apps, so you can make a document inside Zoho CRM running through Zoho Docs. And it opens up Zoho Writer, Zoho Show, Zoho Sheet. If I want to go back to what I'm working on, there's a little clock here. Your recent items. I can go right back to Tages here. So that's attachments. If you have a Google account, you can attach straight from Google Drive. If you have a separate Zoho Docs account, it works with that too. All right, so let's talk about the activities. So tasks is your to-do list. It does sync with Outlook tasks. It also does export to Google Tasks. So you make your to-do list. You set a due date, status, priority. You add a reminder. If you've seen it in Outlook, it's all the same fields. So I wanted to show here on the reminders, you can choose pop-up or email. You can assign tasks to other people and send reminders to them as well. You can add custom fields to this, but what we have is the status. So you can just use not started. I can hit save. If I want to close this task, I just simply hit the close button. You can go even more detailed and open the task, add notes, update the status for the task itself, and then close it from there. So very quickly, you can just hit the close button. Otherwise, the events go on the calendar. So for meetings, for conferences, for demos, we use the events section. All-day events, you can set up what that time interval is. Otherwise, you choose the time interval. The host is the owner of the event. And then you can invite people. This is a new feature as well. So before, you couldn't invite people from the CRM. Now you can invite your leads, contacts, users, groups, roles, the whole territory. So if you want to run a meeting, you can send invites out. All right, so I can add the event on the calendar. And lastly, you can log a call. So on day 3, we're going to talk about call integrations. We have call integrations with like Avaya and Ringio and Twilio. It's more useful in that aspect, but otherwise, you can manually log a call. I highly doubt anyone's going to actually do this, but you can do this. I think it's more useful once you integrate your call solution, or you can log completed calls. And I like also scheduling the calls separate. Rather than making events and tasks, you can keep these separated, and they also go on your calendar. On the mobile app, which I go over later today, it does let you log calls. So if someone's in the CRM app, makes a call, hangs up, the log a call pops up. So then if you have people traveling and on the road, you want to see what calls they're making, it will automatically track the duration of the call and the start and end time if they're using it through the app. So it becomes more useful in that aspect as well. Closed activities. So on the mobile app, if you make the call within the app itself, like if I'm on Tejas' name, I tap the number and make the call. Once I hang up, the log of call pops up. So the duration and time of the call is saved. All you have to do is add the notes. So it's more useful on the field, I feel. Okay, so closed activities. Once event, the time passes, it's closed. A task has to be manually closed, and calls, besides the scheduled call, the rest of them are closed, right? A current call is automatically closed once it's saved, and a completed call is automatically closed once it's saved. So we keep those separated from the open activities. Now all this stuff, once I enter it in, when I hit the convert button, it's going to follow all the way through. So if I've done a good job with all of the notes and the tasks and the events, all that history is going to be continuously populated into contacts. All right, so you can see here the contact name is the lead name, and the lead company name is the account name. And I have the option now to create my sales opportunity or potential. So I put the amount in there. There's a little nifty calculator here if you need to. It automatically names the company name as the potential name. Then I choose my closing date. And the most important section, you choose the stage. You don't have to go in order for the stages. I mean, if you had a really long call with this lead, you already pushed them all the way over here, then you can mark that. So it'll show to the sales manager that this lead pushed through the sales cycle a lot quicker. So I choose this. Here are the contact roles. As you have multiple contacts to the same account going after one deal, then you can choose different roles. You can add more to this list, by the way. You can even change ownership during conversion. Right, so we create 3 different records off of one. They're all linked together. I can go to the account, and I can find the related contact and potential. I can go to the potential, find the related contact and account. I can go to the contact, find the related account and potential. It's like 3 tables that are joined together, basically, is what's happening. And so they're all linked. So this is the lookup field, right? So when you click on, for example, I'm going to click on the contact. I can see the account name here. And I can click on it. It takes me to the account. That's a lookup field. So you can create those on your own as well for custom modules. You can have multiple contacts for one account. You can create that from the account page. Now, as I scroll down here on Tejas, my notes here, emails are here, my activities here, and the potential is also down here. All right, so all that information is pushed through. These are called related lists because they're related to this particular contact, but they're attached to another module. So I go back now. Here's the potential. Qualification is automatically linked to 10% to close. Does that mean anything to you? Well, it can be. If probability is important to you, you can link a probability to each stage. So as it moves from stage to stage, rather than looking at the stage name, you just look at the probability to close. And you can determine that. A sales rep can overwrite the probability as well. But you can set automation. It's already built in. All you have to do is choose the probability amount, and it will affect it based on stage. So I'm going to edit here. So if I click on the edit and I go to proposal price quote, it automatically jumps to 75% to close. And then I can hit save. Right, so what's happening down here? You're getting a stage history. I'm getting information to know how many days this took to go from qualification to proposal price quote. Also giving me a date and time. All these fields can be used for reporting. All right, so that's where the duration report is being pulled from. Closing date didn't change. And you're also getting this expected revenue. Expected revenue is amount times probability. In a traditional sales model, when you're doing forecasting, you're running the forecast off the expected revenue per probability to close for each stage. It may not apply to your organization at all. You can remove the field if it's not important, but that's why it's there. It's more of a traditional sales model to look at a funnel, figure out probability to close, calculate the expected revenue from there, and then you kind of get an idea of what you're going to hit. But I know that doesn't apply to everyone because sometimes it can be an all or none. You either make $100 or you don't close a deal at all, right? So that's why it's there. It's just based on this traditional expected revenue model. So remove it if it's not important. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to close our deal, So what happened here? Everything changed to 100%, and of course expected revenue is now equal to amount. The other thing you're getting on this page is sales summary. So I created the lead yesterday, so 1 day conversion time. The closing day is the 22nd, so 3 days for my sales cycle, and adds it together. You have that per potential, and you also have a report that shows this overall. So what you need to do now is figure out what stages and what you need to do at each stage. So if I put it to proposal, price, quote, what does that mean to the salesperson, right? Do I make a quote from the CRM and send it? Do I make a quote somewhere else and send it? What am I doing? So as you build on that, you can attach workflows to this. So they change it to proposal stage, and then a workflow task triggers saying, make a quote and send. And they can close that task and then trigger another task. So that's the idea here, is to be as efficient as possible. And as you learn, you'll build workflows now off of these different stages and off of these different potentials you're creating, or the accounts and account types and contact types, and just make it more and more efficient. You don't want to spend so much time clicking around the CRM. Otherwise, they would spend another minute or so making this task. It can be automatically created. Let's say if I close this deal, you can have a workflow that triggers that says, thank you for your purchase, and it figures out what product they purchased. So that will make the sales team more efficient, and then they can work on other potentials. You can go back to the account and add another potential if they come back for repeat business. All right, so I want to show a report real quick. Pipeline by stage is a built-in report. All it does is shows you how much money is sitting in each stage. So it's already created for you. So you can run this to see what's going on in your company if you haven't run this report yet. And it's under the potential reports folder. And you'll learn more about this later. What I want to do next is jump into the forecast. Who uses the forecast tab? All right, that was my guess. All right. Do you use the forecast tab because you don't know what it does? All of us care about hitting numbers, hitting goals, and most of the time we're pulling this information to Excel or somewhere else and then seeing who's actually hitting their goal, who's hitting their targets. You can actually do this inside the CRM, and we want to make this more and more powerful. The only way you can project sales performance, though, is to know what to expect. How do you know that? Well, if you're a new business, you don't really know that, right? Once your business grows year on year on year, you'll know if your deals are seasonal. You'll know how much to hit in January versus how much you're hitting in December. You'll learn that information, and you'll be able to project it better. That way you can measure growth, and then you can segment this by roles or territories. So we learned roles. That's your hierarchy. If you have sales managers and reps, you can imitate the forecast based on that hierarchy. So it tells you sales manager team 1 has this goal, and all these reps hit this much. If you create territories, you can have, California, this is the goal. These are the reps in California. These are their individual goals. So you can choose how you want to segment it. All right, so all of this is based on a sales target, right, or a sales goal. So let's look at a forecast. I already made one here. So you set this is by territories, by the way. So I'm going to go to the settings. So when you first create this forecast, you choose it based on territories or roles. Then you choose if it's monthly or quarterly, and you can switch back and forth. It's based on the fiscal year, which you've set up under organization settings, which for most of us is January. And you can change the target based on. So you can choose it on amount or expected revenue. You can do a forecast on either one. You can have a custom currency field in the CRM, any custom number field in the potential section can be used to run a forecast. So you're not limited to using our amount or expected revenue field. Once you do that, select your month in this case, and I set a target. This is for the entire organization for this month. And it tells you already without having to run a report. I just simply clicked on this. It tells you how much I've achieved, how much is in my pipeline. So if you're using your stages properly, anything that's in the open stage category, which means it's not closed, it's going to show up here. And this is all your closed, all your deals. Then you can break it down by individual territories and set a target. It automatically tells you because state equals California, how much has been closed. State equals New Mexico, how much has been closed. It's interesting to note here. Look at Louisiana. Haven't achieved anything. There's only 28,000 in the pipeline. So we have a shortage. There's not even enough deals. So even if we closed all those, we're not going to even hit our goal. So this might be another issue to tackle. They might need to get more leads, right? This one has achieved substantially over goal, which is really helpful because company-wide, we're still hitting our goal. So I could click and go to the next level. So I'm going to click drill down and go to California. I set myself a goal of 150,000 because I'm amazing, and I set John Smith just a measly goal of 50K, right? So I destroyed him, and I can see I have a star next to my name, makes me feel good. Closed a really, really large deal in California, but you can see who your best rep is in, a matter of seconds. I can bump it back up another level. We've got Oregon, right? I didn't even set myself a target in Oregon. I only set it for John. That's why you saw a target not set, because that was specifically to me. But he has a target set, and he's doing horrible, right? So not enough deals in the pipeline. No chance he's going to hit goal there, right? But thank God there's me, because of me, we've hit our goal anyway. All right, so again, forecasting it's awesome because you can see who your star performers are. You can see if you need more leads because there's not enough in your pipeline. And if you're using the stages properly, you can see what's open and what's closed. And then you can drill down on this another level by clicking on it. All right, so that's forecast. If you need help, we can help you build these forecasting. And that's it.